Powered by Riverside.
Hey, welcome to BJB Today on this Thursday. Since that the weather's going to be a little bit nicer today, as we said last night, as DK said last night, the sun did come up today. Welcome to the show. Make sure to hit that subscribe and like button. We've been growing the community each and every week, and we really appreciate all the support to all of our videos, and really appreciate, like earlier this week we had, we talked baseball. That video is like one of the highest watched videos we've had this year, since the first of the year. So we really appreciate that. We also had tremendous support for the sponsor video we had with Vino Moss, and I appreciate everybody watching that and learning a little bit about Vino Moss. In fact, I got some great comments from people on hey, I didn't know much about the business. I'd seen it, wow, this sounds like a great place to go. And so so if you haven't watched that, check that out. That was on earlier this week, as well as the baseball interview with Coach Kingston. And then obviously our post-game show last night after the men's game. And, it was, we kind of explained our job is to talk about the game, and we had to, and it was rough. And, you don't want to overly criticize the team because, it was a hard day for the team and everybody involved. But, we did our best. And today we're going to switch subjects and talk about a game also last night, the Creighton women. So we want to talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about Infusion Brewing. So go to Infusion Brewing and infusionbrewing.com. They're over on 6271 South 118th Street. Go over and check out their fabulous tasting room. I just love it. You can get flights of beers, all varieties, dark, light, flavored. Check them all out. They've got some great, they got the dill pickle, they got the spicy dill pickle, they've got the cowbell, they've got lagers, regular lagers, and of course they're the home of the Let It Fly beer, where you can get at Let It Fly Sports Bar, right next to the CHI Center, and a great place to go Saturday. So check it out. That's Infusion Brewing and infusionbrewing.com. Check out all the hours they have for the tasting room. Get down there, great place to go watch a game, and maybe Friday night would be great. Go down there and watch UConn and St. John's. So check it out. That's infusionbrewing.com. Well, the women had a home game last night against Georgetown. The Hoyas came into the game at 5-8. The Jays were 6-7, so battle kind of in the middlings. And the Hoyas were 12-10 heading into the contest. The Jays on the flip side were 10-12. They had a good game down over in D.C. and this one at home, and another thriller where the Jays pull out a 64-62 win. Couple of things about the game. Number one, Neely Gessert is just blowing up. Set a school record last night, 31 points for a freshman. And Flan talked a lot about her in the post-game press conference about just her shooting. And the big thing last night was she got 8 twos, because he said teams are going to start really coming out on her and preventing her from shooting the three. And he said it's very big that she started to get twos. And he compared that to Morgan Malley when she was here. She initially was just a 3-point shooter, and then people came out and she had to figure out a way to still get her points when they did that. And she became more of a, I think, she was a 3-point shooter, but I think more of the latter years, she was more of a driver of the ball to the basket. And so Neely doing that last night was, big for the development of her career. Pardon me, a little late night throat. So at any rate, 31 points. Wow, look at her line. 13-23, 5-12 from 3. 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Yeah, she just continues to shine. And we've mentioned many times they have some tremendous freshmen on this team that are going to build and build and build. You know, Kendall McGee had kind of a little off night last night. Another great freshman, and then of course Ava Zedeker, who's been shining in a lot of these games as well. She still chipped in with 11 and 4 assists. So a thrilling game, and it came down to Grace Baffelli, who was at birthday, the 6th-year senior. Grace Baffelli, listen to her line. She had 17 rebounds and 9 points. And, she's not, 6'6", okay? She gets rebounds. She just uses it with talent, with smarts, with fundamentals, and is able to get rebounds. On her birthday, gets 17 rebounds. And not only that, cherry on top, as she said in the press conference, she scored the winning basket. They similar play to what happened earlier. She got the ball, and 2 players went for Neely because she was so hot, and Grace had a wide open path. And she goes, I looked and went, whoa. And she goes, at that point, I was just hoping I'd make the layup, which she did. And gave the Jays a 64-62 win, moving them to 7-7 now. They're back to 500 in the conference. So a really, really nice run for the Jays. Georgetown drops to 5-9. And we said, all along that, this team would probably, be somewhere. I think they were projected 5th in the non-conference, or in the conference, I'm sorry. And I think, were they going to be that? Were they going to finish that high? And now, I think it's kind of going in that direction. And I think it's, really, excuse me, really, a possibility. The Jays are now just 1 game out of that 5th spot. So obviously UConn way out in front. Villanova 11-3, Marquette 10-4, Seton Hall 9-4, and then St. John's 8-6. So really, they're 3 games in the loss column out of 3rd. Now that'd be kind of a tall task, but you never know. There's a lot of games going on here down the stretch. And the big thing now is they've opened up a 2-game lead over Georgetown in 7th place. So nice buffer there. So you head into the Big East tournament, and I personally think 6 would be a beautiful spot to be because, you play the worst, whoever ends up being the worst team in the league in the first game. Now you got to play that 1 extra game. I get that. But then you move up and take on like a 3 seed, and you avoid, with your 6, you're going to avoid playing UConn until the final. Now, I don't think UConn's going to beat, I think the league, we talked about both UConns, men's and women's, right? And it's a little different in the men's, where UConn men have had some close calls against some teams. So you could see them getting knocked off in the semis, for instance. That's why I've said with the men, they're in that 4-5 range now. And I said, I think frankly it'd be better if we were 6. And they're like, no, we don't want to play the extra game. But if that's your only hope to get in the NCAA tournament, you got to look for the best path. And the best path would be to avoid UConn until the end. And you say, well, you got to play St. John's. Yeah, I would take my role against St. John's versus, because we've seen St. John's not make shots and struggle, where UConn has enough other pieces that they can get by without it. Anyway, back to the whim. And so the Jays are, like I said, 7-7, 1 game behind St. John's. Great spot to talk about RTI Threads. Go to rtithreads.com and check out all they have to offer. They have a ton of women's basketball gear, shirts, tees, hats, sweatshirts. So check it all out. They've got, and they also have jerseys of all the women's players. So you can get your name on it. You can get the player's name on it, however you want to do it. So go and get, you maybe need a guesser. Hey, you know what? That jersey could be worth something here if she keeps going. So go to rtithreads.com. Check out all they have to offer. They're an exclusive apparel provider of Blue Jay Banner. We've got some swanky Blue Jay Banner t-shirts. We got another shipment just dropped. So we're going to be getting those here in the next day. And so if you see us, you come over to Let It Fly on Saturday where we're doing the post game and you want a t-shirt, come on over and get one. These are pretty hot looking. Gave one to my son down in Phoenix. He's hard to please. He loved it. Thought it was very sharp. So that's saying a lot when you get his stamp of approval. So check it out. That's rtithreads.com. Okay. Let's go back to CBS here. All right. So now we want to look at the schedule coming up and see what the Jays have. I know UConn sits on the horizon here, and they're coming up next week. But before that, the Jays on Sunday will have Marquette at home. Now, Marquette, as we mentioned in the standings, is at 10-4. If we were to knock off Marquette, get to 10-5, we'd be 8-7. We'd closed only 2 games. We said there was kind of a wide gap there. We closed within 2 games of them. And Seton Hall has a game in hand yet, too. So let's see who Seton Hall goes up against. Oh, Seton Hall plays St. John's. There we go. So a battle of teams right in front of us. So, yeah, we could make a nice little move here up the standings. The problem is then we go next week. On Wednesday, we head to the Evil Empire, the UConn Huskies, game that's on Peacock at 6 o'clock next Wednesday night, February 11th. So, yeah, got to somehow, look, they're not getting close to anybody. Nobody's getting close to them, I should say. So, you kind of got to chalk that one up as a loss. So that would put us at 8-8, but still, you'd still be right in the hunt, and Seton Hall Marquette play that. So Seton Hall's playing some of the top contenders here too, team that's out in front of us too. So we've got a chance to make up some ground here in the near future in this next week. And then we're done with the UConn. Then we can, move ahead to the rest of the schedule. And, it looks pretty favorable, frankly, after we get through the UConn game. Then we play Butler, we play Providence, Xavier, Villanova. 2 of the 4 are at home. So a chance for us to move up, like I said, move up the standings. So it's very exciting. Another thing I want to talk about, we mentioned earlier about baseball and the interview we did with Coach Kingston. I think that interview dropped on Tuesday, so you can find it right here, on our YouTube channel. Just go to Blue Jay Banner, and it will all be there. But I want to just talk a second so we can get kind of focused on what's going to happen here with baseball, because it's coming up fast. And a week from Friday, so 8 days away, they will head out to St. Mary's and head out to Moraga, California, and take on St. Mary's in a 3-game set. Friday, it's 4 o'clock. Saturday is 3 o'clock. All these games, what's cool this year, rather than going through Flow Sports and all that junk, we can pull it up on ESPN Plus. This is awesome. I'm going to be glued on Friday at 4 o'clock on the 13th. And then Saturday at 3 p.m., we take on St. Mary's. And then Sunday at noon. Wow. That's an early start on the West Coast. That's like 10 a.m. So great 3 games. That St. Mary's usually has a pretty decent baseball program. I don't know what they've done in the past seasons, but they're where they've fell. But, them and Gonzaga are kinda like basketball, they're both fairly decent. We've played St. Mary's before in tournament games. Then it really ramps up for us because that's when things really turn around the following week. That's kind of the warm-up. Normally, that would be one of the highlights of our non-conference schedule. Not the highlights, but maybe one of the tougher games. No, then it really warms up. Then we go out to San Diego, play UC San Diego. We play San Diego. We take on Utah, all out in the San Diego tournament. Then we take on Tarleton State, Abilene Christian, and then Tarleton State again in a 3-game set. Then we come home on Friday, March 6th. Now, there's no basketball that weekend. We are off that weekend. So, great chance to get out and watch this team. We have a 6 o'clock Friday night start and then a 2 Saturday and a 1 on Sunday. So, chance against Gonzaga, another WCC team who usually has a decent baseball program. And then we go down to Baton Rouge on a Tuesday and play LSU. We stay down there and take on Tulane on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Very good program. We come back home for one midweeker against Omaha, and then we head down to Miami for a 3-game set against Miami. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, March 20th. So you can see, and then we come back home for another Omaha, and then we get more into the traditional games we have at Charles Schwab Field. We take on, we have some midweekers. We have Omaha, South Coast State. We play Sacramento State in 3, and then our first game against Nebraska. And then we head right into conference play. And wow, what a way to kick off conference play where we're going to go right into it, where we head to Stores and take on UConn for 3 right off the get-go, the conference favorite. So exciting stuff here in baseball. Very competitive. We're going to be, our strength of schedule will be up there after the non-conference. So excited about baseball. So that's a week from Friday. You know what else is exciting that I mentioned earlier? If you check out our Monday show again with Deanna from Vino Moss, we outline everything that's going on at Vino Moss, the whole history of the company, the whole history of the 2 locations, a new location in Legacy, and then the base location over in Eagle Run. Fabulous place to go have a glass of wine, buy some wine. They have wines from all over the world. And then also join their wine club, which is fabulous. You get free wine tastings, which occur at both locations once a week. And then also you can, they have so many recipes on their website that pairs with the wines they have. That's tremendous. So check it all out. That's vinomoss.com. Good friends, good times, good wines. All right. Rest of the week, we're closing on Friday. Here we go. So Friday, another preview. Preview Seton Hall on Friday for the Saturday game at 5 o'clock. I don't think. Let me double check here. I don't think we have. Comically, my wife asked me last night. Well, do you have any special dress code? I love it because I've kind of railed on that over the time. And I said, I don't believe we have a dress code Saturday, which is nice. They're not going to tell us what we have to wear. Seton Hall. Why don't we just set the pink out? No, I don't see any dress code listed under the game. So there we go. 5 o'clock tip again on Peacock. Man, we've had a lot of games on Peacock this year. And again, I'd like to get to the bottom of this. Why, again, like last night, why do we have to have? They're all on Peacock. Why do we have to have the Big East games all at the same time? Can we not do a doubleheader? It's all I'm asking. I get the East Coast teams don't want to play super late. I get that. We can work it out. We can make it work. You can move one of these Midwest teams to match up with an East team and play the have the East Coast team start at 6:30, which I think they'd prefer. And then the late game at 8:30, you don't have to have that gap because they're all on Peacock. You can flip over to the other channel anyway. It's not like they go back to back. So you flip over to the other one, and that starts at 7:30 Central Time. Perfect. I, I I don't know what's so difficult about that, but apparently it is. But that's what I'd like to see. But at least on Saturday, I think we're probably a standalone at 5 p.m. So um, I know there's a lot of frustration out there at this point, but come on, stick with these guys. Let's have a big home crowd. Pretty much our um, at-large chances are gone now. Um, we could run the table in the tournament. I don't see that happening. Even at you know at our peak, I'm not sure we look like an NCAA tournament team. But it would be nice to get above and have the opportunity to go to the crown if we so choose to do so. So again, mentioned a million times, it's not about that. But just look last year. What happened? Nebraska won the crown. This year having a fantastic year. They won the crown. Why was that important to them? Maybe they're not thinking about that now, but that was important to them. Why? They got 3 weeks of practices. Other teams don't get that. They got 3 weeks of practices leading up to the crown, which is later in March, and then just got to go to one site and play some games. And I think that's invaluable. And you play decent competition, So that's invaluable to those teams. So I would think would be really helpful with the number of young players we've got. We saw HUD last night get out. It'd be invaluable for him to get more games under his belt in that 20 plus minutes he got last night. That would really be helpful. So get out and support this team. It really means a lot, and it'll mean a lot Saturday. Saturday will be kind of another emotional game. So get out, and we owe Seton Hall one big time. And it's a team, unlike some of these other teams, that they're not overpowering inside. They play the in your face defense, but the officials in the Big East have finally started calling some fouls on them, which is they foul a lot. That hasn't been called, and kind of like last night, so we're kind of used to it. But they've started to call fouls on them, and other teams are starting to get a little more adjusted to them. They're awful offensively, and we'll talk about this tomorrow in the preview. They can't score. They go through large stretches where they don't score, which with our offensive struggles at times, really helpful, right? We can stay in the games or have a good offensive night and push that number out. So that they do like to come back. They came back again last night, but Villanova had a big enough lead where it wasn't a factor. All right, appreciate all their sponsors, Vino Moss, RTI Threads, and Infusion Brewing. Appreciate them all. Appreciate everybody watching. Please hit that subscribe and like button. Helps us out a ton. And we'll see you tomorrow with the opponent preview.